screencast here to give you another example about how to do them. You can do it with a PowerPoint. That can be really nice. And this will also give me a chance to talk a little bit more about not just Hall, but other critical perspectives on educational technology. So I hope you can get from this a little bit about how to use a lens to produce critiques of your own and how to talk, not necessarily like Hall, but how to talk about a topic or a problem or something you want to promote in a way that is transparent about its theoretical foundations. And we talk about theoretical lenses in order to do that. All right, so in italics right there is Hall's theoretical frame. That's his lens. That's his decoder ring. Workers struggle against non-workers to gain control over means of production. He's a Marxist. That's what that means. Everyone kind of knows, like not everyone knows. You can see what his lens is and understand him based on that lens. So if the theory is that labor tends to be exploited and workers trade their health for money, but the bigger wealth is accumulated by owners, you can see how that becomes a decoder ring to tackle the question of educational technology in the lives of teachers. And that's really what that article is about. So to me, the idea of a decoder ring helps you see how you take a number and that gives you a letter. It helps you translate from one thing that maybe seems normal to understand it as another thing. This is happening a lot in the news right now as we talk about, race and systemic racism. Is this an issue of race or not? And then someone interprets it through a racialized or a racially conscious lens, and they're sort of saying, do you see now how this equates to a racialized, point or whatever? So here's how he applied his decoder ring, and you can pause the video to see if you follow his application of the Marxist lens. Okay, that's my version. Other people have different versions, but they'll tend to, at least we understand the way he's applying that lens. But there are other lenses, and this is what I want to get to. It doesn't have to be about labor relations as the way that you talk about educational technology when you want to produce critiques. There's lots of different ways to do it. So one would be to look at the structure of instruction, the version of knowledge that is used in the technology. And you might not like it. I think it's a strong critique, and this was be an epistemological critique. Epistemology is how we know, what our knowledge is. You can pause your video and read the slides, but that second bullet point is important. The lens is critical, but has a different approach. It focuses on what the technology is wired to treat as knowledge. So if everything is going to wind up as a multiple choice question with a fact-based response, that tells you something about how they're wiring how knowledge is built within that environment, what knowledge is treated as in that environment. Notice the fourth bullet there as well. This critique, at one point was saying if there's too many closed-ended questions, too many fixed response. And I think that problem still very much exists. But what about more open-ended ones? Multiple format submission portals, discussion boards. What about privileging, as we discussed in the first class, written speech versus oral speech? That's an epistemological question. Does oral speech count as a representation of knowledge? Someone in the class would say yes. Others in the class would say, oh yes, but writing is so important. So briefly, here's how you might use a lens. And again, you can pause the video and read through these slides. These are 3 examples of how you get from your own kind of hunch or irritation to a recognition and application of a theoretical lens. So again, pause the video and have a quick read. So I already know this problem exists, but now I realize that it's the view of knowledge, or I could use the view of knowledge as the basis of my critique, or as the basis of my promoting a different way or a different technology that you think has a better epistemological foundation. But there are other lenses that we also need from time to time, especially when we're talking about the social organization of the classroom and the social application of technologies. A lot of times educational technologies in the classroom are very individualistic when children's use of technology can be very social. So there can be a mismatch there, and we need other lenses to make sense of the social dynamics. Here are some. There are multiple others, and having some of these at your disposal is beneficial. So with each of these, think about how that lens gives you a way to critique or promote a particular phenomenon, activity, technology, etc. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this.